I guess we'll start there, segue into that. But first topic will be cryptids and other such mysterious animals. So, first of all, what do you guys think about, like, any claims about, like, undiscovered animals and stuff like that? Just a general overview. Like, do you think that they're legitimate, or what do you think? Do they have some truth? Where do you
personally, I don't care what people say.
This is fascinating stuff.
I know that Mark is real.
You have faith that Mark is real? Is it Marktology?
Cryptids are fun to discuss and to research until something comes up where it's clearly a hoax. Surgeon photograph. I'm looking at you.
We can know that whole Siberian nest.
Yes.
Siberian Bigfoot nest. Well, Yeti nest, technically.
But yeah,
that was fun.
I think that in general, it's. I do like the idea. I think it's interesting that some people are actually like looking around for these things, and that they think it's possible that there's other stuff to find. And I think that in certain circumstances, and I'm pretty sure you'd agree with me, Will, but some of these ocean creatures might have a hint of truth to them. But
ever since the giant squid.
Yeah, but I think that's a different case. Because the ocean is a much bigger area than, let's say, a forest in the Northwest. But
yeah.
So I think
I don't know if any of you guys would agree with me on this, but no, sorry, you go. You were talking.
Yeah, you can go. I stopped so you could talk.
Okay. Could the whole cryptid thing be about where it's just humanity's exaggeration, where they'll say something to one person, then they'll tell something to another person, to another person, and by the end of it, the story is just so whacked out of this world that it eventually finds its way to someone who has importance and broadcasts it to everyone and everyone.
Yeah, considering most of these are pretty old, I'd say that something along the lines of that happened, probably like something before there was like well documented and like it was difficult to pass information around other than like via like the Pony Express sort of deal, where it was anything that was communicated was just through word of mouth. So of course it has room for exaggeration, right? So, but I think we'll move on to the first case on the docket, if you will. I guess we'll talk about. What were you gonna say, Will?
No, I think there's some credibility to cryptids in a whole, because when you think about it, until like I don't know, maybe 150 years ago, mountain gorillas were considered a cryptid.
I think that painting it with that broad of a brush and saying that they're all fake just because is too stupid of a statement. Maybe not stupid, but an incorrect statement. But most of the really, really popular ones, like the ones we're going to discuss, have pretty much been debunked. But we'll talk about Bigfoot to start off with. That'll be the first one. So pretty sure everybody knows what Bigfoot is. He's supposedly this like giant ape-like creature that wanders through the forest and such. So what do you guys think about Bigfoot specifically? Are you any doubt that he doesn't exist? Because I'm 100% confident that there's no such thing as Bigfoot.
Are you 100% confident that what? You kind of cut out there.
I'm 100% confident that there's no such thing as a Bigfoot, or at least the traditional view of that.
Yeah, I would like. See, it's fascinating. It's so fascinating to the point where you kind of convince yourself it's real, or you convince yourself that there might be a chance that it exists.
Yeah, I don't really want to say that there's nothing, but there's nothing to convince me otherwise.
Yes, that's exactly. Well, that's
it's
exactly
basically
what I'm saying.
the whole phrase. It's like, I don't want to say I'm awesome, but I'm awesome. It's basically, I don't want to say it's not real, but it's not real.
I like saying that I'm awesome because it's true.
It was your quote in the yearbook, Will.
Oh, yeah. No, my quote in the yearbook was do or do not, there is no try.
No, and then there was something that said, I am awesome. Never mind.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. That was me signing your yearbook.
That has little to nothing to do with
in the rainbow.
Bigfoot.
All right, let's go.
But I think it, like in general, well, like Bigfoot, it's unusual. Like I think it mostly arose from like what I was saying. Like it was just tall tales. Like, oh, somebody saw something really weird in the forest, and We don't really know what it was, right? And I think that if you're going to look at the most legitimate claims for this, you would have to look back in like the first times it was discovered, because nowadays I think it's just it's too easy to fake. Like,
you see him everywhere. Apparently, like nowadays, people see him everywhere.
Saw Bigfoot down at the donut store a little while ago.
My God, he was at Timmy's the other day, man.
You're just standing in line. You got a double.
He was holding up the damn line. But no, like nowadays, like you were saying, like a long time ago, like the first big sighting, and that's where everyone's like, oh, it's concentrated here. But nowadays, like one day, he's in California, then the next day, he's all the way up in Minnesota.
And I think that's the biggest evidence against it, would be that there can't be, if you're going to argue for Bigfoot, you can't legitimately say that there's one creature. It's even more ridiculous than saying it even exists. Because it's been maybe like 150 years and so that it's just, I have no idea, I'm just throwing that number out there, but that they've said that they've seen things in the forest. But that means that this thing is either like some sort of immortal time traveler, or...
Bigfoot's not an individual, it's a species.
Yes, well, that's what people are claiming, but I'm saying that, like, it'd have to have... But then think about that, the size of what that would be. Like, you would have to have some sort of a big enough breeding population that... Yeah. Let's say that's true, that there is a breeding population of Bigfoot that have managed to stay hidden. What are they eating? Where are they? Like, the population of, like, deer and other small wildlife would have to be through the roof. We'd at least see, like, way more deer and stuff like that than there would be now.
I don't know. I'm going to play devil's advocate for this. But when you think about it, when else do you see, like, a large animal? Do you see the carcass that a bear left behind in the forest?
I usually do.
No.
I haven't spent
like if
any
never
time
really see
in an area where
it'll drag back to its home.
Yeah.
I've never gone looking for a carcass from a bear.
Yeah, but we've found so many bear dens. You'd think we'd stumble upon one Bigfoot den.
People claim to have stumbled upon them.
But, there's no credence behind it. Oh, and then when they're asked where exactly is it, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they take a polygraph test and they pass the polygraph test. You can so easily pass one of those tests.
No, but you know what? I want to tell you guys one of my favorite Bigfoot stories. I saw this on Discovery Channel a while ago, and I could not stop laughing.
I was going to say, was it so bad it's funny?
Yeah. There was a lady who claimed to have a family of Bigfoot living in her backyard.
All right.
And every once in a while, one of them would come to the back door, and she would give them, like, some fruit and some sugar and stuff.
You know what I gave him? I gave him tree fitting.
I just found that story hilarious for some
Danny,
reason.
you busted out that joke way too early. Damn it, comedic timing, Danny.
There was so much. I did not want to use it for the Loch Ness Monster, because that would have been too easy.
But yeah.
I'm sorry, it's just an impulse.
I think that my favorite thing going along like the ridiculous stories like that, the best thing about Bigfoot is that he is this ever-changing creature that, like, if there's something that, like, let's say you're watching one of these Bigfoot shows where they're searching through Bigfoot, and then they see something that's a bit unusual or a bit out of place, like a tree branch broken off that's really high, right? It would be like, oh, well, a human could do that if they wanted to, like, with machines and stuff, but it wouldn't be plausible. It's obviously a creature that's bigger than that, right? As soon as they see something like that, or like this boulder wasn't in the middle of this path here, right? It's like no human could move this, right? Well, all of a sudden this Bigfoot can do whatever it needs to do to have your story fit, right? Like, it can be a creature that could be maybe a bit bigger than humans, or maybe a bit stronger, but then it could also be this human that lifts like a 9,000-pound boulder and rolls it onto the road, right? Like, it changes to whatever these people claim it's doing, right? It'd be like, well, why haven't we found Bigfoot? Oh, well, he goes invisible, right? Like, the story's never the same.
Hold on, Will, are you eating something? I hear noise in the background of somebody's mic.
I don't think it's me.
Well, for once, it's not my bird.
But yeah, it's just Bigfoot is this ever-changing creature that can change as to whatever people need it to do, and I think that's the biggest evidence against it is that it can't just adapt to whatever, because even if you take an animal that already exists, and let's say we haven't found it yet, it's not going to change as much as Bigfoot has in terms of its physical capabilities or where it lives or where it wanders around and stuff like that, right? It's not going to change as much.
Mm-hmm.
So. But does anybody else have anything that they want to say about Bigfoot?
Not really, no.
I would want it to be real, so that I can build a Millennium Falcon and I can have my own Chewbacca.
He's a Wookiee, not a Bigfoot.
They're big and hairy, and Lord knows the noises these things make.
Points for trying, gang.
And I also think that
it wouldn't be a Wookiee, it'd be close enough, alright? Can we just settle on close enough?
I'm going to take my North American giant ape into space with me in my circular spaceship, and he shall be my co-pilot.
But I think that
maybe Bigfoot is maybe the actual designation is Wookiee. You never know.
Anyway, I think that
Homo Wookieus.
in the closing thoughts about Bigfoot is it could also play into the fact of a majority of people's ignorance as to how evolution works, and they could think because some people argue that this is like the missing link and stuff like that. Meanwhile, there isn't really a missing link per se, right? It's because everything is a transitionary fossil, right? There's not this huge thing that's like a mystery, and some people could perceive it as that, and I think that that's the wrong way of looking at it. But I think that the main fact that something that large could not live in an area that small, it's big, but not in terms of a habitat for something that big. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeti might be possible.
Even then.
Yeti.
Even then.
I'm not giving up on it yet.
I just want to have one of those moments where I'm out hiking in the woods, because let's be honest, I do that all the time, where I see something really strange, and then I come back to you guys and say, yo guys, you wouldn't believe what I saw. And at that point, I will be labeled an insane freak.
Because everyone knows that Mark doesn't actually go hiking.
No, and everyone knows I don't go hiking either.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to the Loch Ness Monster. So,
Nessie.
The Loch Ness Monster, or the Loch Ness Monster, or lake monsters in general, because there have been many other claims of lake monsters, like Loch Ness Monster, like Ogopogo, and Champ, and Memphre.
Ogopogo.
But,
Ogopogo.
I said Ogopogo.
Ogo.
I believe there is a sea cryptid close to where we live.
Yes, there's supposedly a Lake Erie monster.
Yeah, I remember reading about that a while ago.
Which is what the Lake Erie Monsters hockey team is named after.
That would explain a lot.
And now the world makes sense.
And also why their logo is a Loch Ness Monster.
Okay, shut up. Okay, I don't follow the AHL, all right?
But,
wait, is it the AHL?
I think so. The AHL or maybe the OHL or one of those ones. But anyway, what do you guys think about the? Oh, wait, for those of you who don't know, for some reason, the Loch Ness Monster is supposedly some creature who swims around in lakes and is pretty much hidden, surfaces and for brief periods of time enough to catch on tape, supposedly. But yeah.
Actually, here's one. Lake Ontario. It's called the Kingstye.
Really?
Have you heard of it?
It's probably just some strange mutated fish.
It was a
from all the pollution.
cryptozoological hoax invented in 1934 as an echo of the 1904 Lake George monster hoax. So it's been debunked, but it's close to home.
And but yeah, what do you like in general? And I think Danny, you're probably gonna jump ahead to the topic that we're going to talk about the picture. But what do you guys think in general about the Loch Ness Monster? I think it has an air of truth. What do you guys think in general about the Loch Ness Monster? And it has a hint of truth, fake?
Well, I think next to Bigfoot, I would say this one has more of a chance to actually exist.
Personally, I think
I'm
it is less of a chance than
yes,
Bigfoot.
I'm 100% against that. It is way, way less of a chance than Bigfoot.
I wouldn't say like the massive holy mother of lake monster that everyone talks about, but who knows? Like there might be something.
Like the one time I've been to Loch Ness before,
Really?
and I went on a boat tour, and personally I didn't see anything there.
Oh yeah.
I would just say personally there might be something that's a little off, but at the same time, like it's not gonna. I wouldn't say it's like a cryptid. Who knows? It's probably just like a mutated thing, because Lord knows the crap that is in any body of water anywhere ever.
Yeah.
I think that it's if we're going to talk about this, like lake monsters in general, I think it's been pretty much 100% positively confirmed that there is nothing in Loch Ness. But as for the credence to any other creature, it's still up in the air. But just I think the fact that the original creature has been debunked, it doesn't really have much. The argument doesn't have a leg to stand on in terms of the other ones. But yeah,
Do you know what we have to do?
Loch Ness, it's been scanned all the way through. There's not enough food in the lake to support it. It's too cold. There'd have to be a breeding population, or this thing would be like 300 years old now. It's outrageous to think.
That's why I don't think the Loch Ness monster's there. I just think like there might be something a little bit different or weird in there. But do you know what we need to do?
What?
Drain the lake.
But
we need to. Oh, you guys haven't seen the episode of the Simpsons?
Yeah, I saw that.
Nice.
Yeah, and then they had the Loch Ness monster. Yeah,
Mr. Burns draining the lake, or no, groundskeeper Willie draining the lake.
But yeah, like, and even to the same argument, I think every other lake that, at least the ones I've heard of, the famous ones, like I said, like they're all too cold. They're all like at this, or like our climate. Even Lake Ogopogo I think it gets relatively cold. Maybe not as cold as lakes here, but still too cold.
Still pretty cold.
Something that big. But I don't know. It seems super improbable. And you said about the.
Yeah, like I've heard.
Danny was saying about the surgeon's photo.
I've heard a number of theories about what.
What?
Surgeon's photo?
Yeah, the
surgeon's photo.
Yeah, Will, you take that over. I just know it was a hoax.
Yeah, surgeon's photo was basically a guy, and he took a toy submarine and wood carving.
Well, and this picture is.
Put it in the lake.
This picture is the famous picture of.
It's widely accepted. Like, if you see a picture of Nessie, this is the one you're expected to see. You know, it's got the thick neck, it's coming out of the water, and it's like, I'm a Loch Ness monster. And it's actually just a toy submarine with a piece of wood attached to it.
I can almost guarantee that I'll have a picture of this on the screen if you're watching the YouTube video. Yeah. But yeah, and that.
Wait, hold on. What was the surgeon's photograph? The photograph that gave it the shape?
Yes.
Or gave it like what?
It was the first photograph of it. It was what sparked the whole thing. But and there was also a story behind it that there was like some guy had something to do with it. He was like I don't know if it was the same guy, but he was like a world traveler and stuff like that, and he claimed to like see a bunch of animals, and then he had like he said that he found footprints off of like because it could walk on the land and stuff like that.
He used a stuffed rhino's foot to make those.
Yeah, which he had as an ashtray that he cut off from one of the rhinos on his many trips.
Man, people are going all out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he admitted that on his deathbed, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
But yeah. So like it's bad because something like that happens that's like seems so credible at the time, and then it just balloons into something ridiculous, and then you got to think like what 30, 40 years later, I don't know how old he was when he did it and then when he died, but let's just say for sake of argument, like even like 50 years. It's already ballooned way out of proportion and then when you find out the foundation of this whole thing was fake, it's just where does it leave the rest, right? And I think
you guys know what the first sort of like recorded instance of someone meeting the Loch Ness monster was, right?
I know.
Sorry, I'm not going to make the joke now.
Really old.
There was the first recorded one was of like a monk who went down to the loch, and then the Loch Ness monster came out, and he was like, "Begone, foul beast," and such and whatnot, and then I went back into the water. And that's the first recorded Loch Ness Monster sighting.
And when was this supposed to have taken place?
Oh, God, I have no idea. A long time ago.
Probably.
Long time ago.
And then, yeah. But yeah, like that picture was the first thing that was credible evidence.
That's what made Nessie popular.
Yeah. And I guess you can't really argue that it's made places like this that I guess would be otherwise insignificant in terms of like tourism and stuff like that, like Lake Ogopogo and things like that. It's given it a more.
It's given them a life.
Yeah, at least like it's a good story, but it's if people are going to look at it as true, it's like I don't really know what to say to them. But next, or do you have any closing thoughts? Are we
Loch Ness is a tourist trap now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I wasted the tree fitty joke.
Because I had a whole thing planned out. We were just going to talk normal, and all of a sudden it would be like I would be like trying to explain something and get something out of one of you, and then I would just drop it, and it would be like perfect comedic timing, but you jumped the gun. So.
But no,
you gotta warn me this crap. Warn me, not Will. At least with Will, you still have the comedic, ha 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 laughing.
But
anyway, warn you, Danny. It's not funny.
I don't care. Just not warn you. That's the plan. Don't warn you, so you still laugh.
Okay. Anyway, we'll move on to the chupacabre. So,
chupacabra.
The chupacabra it basically it translates to goat eater, and it's roughly. I'm not a linguist,
I hate goats.
But it's basically some creature that was in the south. Oh yeah, goat sucker or something like that. Something about goats and bad things, and it's basically like some kind of creature that people say exists that kills livestock and removes the blood from it, like it drains the blood because they found
sucks their blood.
Yeah, bodies that don't have any blood in them, like chickens and goats and things. And it mainly happens in like the South, like South America and such like that. But
Mexico. It's actually been slowly moving north, apparently.
Yeah. Into that's where most of like the new pictures that are coming out from are coming from like Texas and Arizona and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's any pictures that they have, and I think there was some that like they've touted as like the definitive proof of it. They've studied them and they've pretty much concluded that any picture that they take is either like a small dog or a coyote with like mange and it's like about to die. So they have it, even if they do have this picture of these dogs, that doesn't mean it has any way of like, a picture doesn't prove that it sucks blood or that it has the capabilities of doing that. So a picture evidence of this thing that they say that it's garbage. You need to have a body or catch it in the act.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't done that yet.
You know my favorite theory about El Chupacabra is?
What? I've heard some doozies.
One of my favorites is that El Chupacabra can actually shift between dimensions.
Yep. You probably watched the same show that I did.
Probably.
And there was also one that I thought was really interesting. That it was well, first of all, I'm going to say we'd have to prove the existence of dimensions before we can say something can transcend dimensions. But
we don't prove it for Mark. We just assume.
But they also said that like during the Vietnam War, they didn't want the Viet Cong fighting in the jungles because it was basically like suicide for the American soldiers because the Viet Cong knew it so well, like because they'd grown up there and lived there and know the jungle so well that anybody who wandered through there that was like fighting against them was going to get killed or fall into punji pits and stuff like that, like all these brutal things, or walk on landmines. So instead of when they decided that burning it down, which they also did, wasn't really the best idea, some people argue that they took, and this is the part of that's true, they took bodies of their own soldiers, drained the blood out of it, and threw them into the forest, and basically made a rumor that there was a creature, right? And so then then the crazy part, people think that the government...
wasn't the crazy part?
Well... It's a little out there, and I don't know if it actually happened, but it's within the realm of possibility, right? But People think that they actually the government went to the lengths of creating said monster and letting it go in the jungles of Vietnam.
I think I remember hearing about that.
And then they said when the war was over, they captured this monster again, and it didn't. And then they had it in captivity, and it didn't like being in captivity, so it escaped, and then it was in the jungles of like
South America.
That area.
Yeah.
Which is completely absurd, but
yes,
at least it's better than a trans-dimensional blood-sucking creature.
Trans-dimensional goat eater.
Yes.
Comes into our dimension just to eat goats.
But
I don't like goats.
But some people also relate this to like the UFO conspiracy, which we'll be discussing later. But that it has to do with like cattle mutilations and things like that, because it's somewhat the same, but
it's all just one big twisted government experiment.
Yes. It's every conspiracy wrapped in a conspiracy. So, but yeah, it's so far out of all of them that we've discussed, I think that this is the least proof that we've had for any creature so far.
Yeah. Except for maybe Mothman, but we didn't talk about Mothman.
I don't know what to think about Mothman, because like it out of all of the like the cryptids, that story behind it is so good.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Just
Mothman?
You've never heard of the Mothman?
Yeah, Mothman.
I've never heard of this.
They made a movie.
Where
Seriously?
the hell have I been?
I love Mothman.
There was like supposedly, was it in the 50s or something like that?
The
Yeah,
Mothman
something like that.
prophecies?
Well, the story that happened, the Mothman prophecies, was made like early 2000s, maybe late 90s, something like that. But anyway, yeah, it's supposedly like somebody saw this like
Mothman.
Yeah, there was like, and they kind of like these kids found it, and they said that the one day they saw it on one of the bridges that was there of the town, like one of the big ones that they just built, and then the bridge collapsed. And then they never saw the Mothman again.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people think that he was like some sort of prophetic, like angel or something like that was predicting that this bridge would crash. But there's just literally zero evidence to that.
Well, then that would just be a dick move.
But I mean, like,
pretty cool story though.
Yeah, it's good fiction. But at the end of the day, it's fiction.
Yeah.
But so yeah. But I've never actually seen the Mothman prophecies either, but
I've heard of it. I just know that Richard Gere's in it.
And also, I find it kind of comical that anyone who wants to argue that this thing would be real, it would be a creature that could be defeated by a bucket of water. Or
the one time water guns are dangerous to something.
You just touch its wing and it can't fly ever again.
Break out the big guns, pull out a super soaker.
Yeah. But we'll move on to our final cryptid, unless we have any other impromptu ones like the Mothman we just discussed. But the last one, I don't even know if we would call it a cryptid, but we just kind of threw it in this category because it was the closest it could fit. But we're going to talk about ghosts. So,
Danny.
do you first of all, do you guys have any experience that someone would call a ghost or anything like that?
I personally don't have any experiences, but I've heard of strange things that happened. My girlfriend, her friend, apparently her house is haunted. And by that I mean, Jamie, my girlfriend, was telling me about how she was told that on certain, like every morning at 6 a.m., their TV would just turn on with volume at full blast and on a channel that was not there before. Or on a channel that it was not on when they turned it off.
Yeah.
I just said that could have been like a TV problem.
Yeah, TVs also have timers built in, so.
Yeah, that's what I said. But then she also brought up about how her friend, their dogs would never go in her room. Like, they would always just like hang outside the room, and if they were ever brought in the room, they would be really like shaking, freaking out, uncomfortable, and then bolt out of there. And there are pictures that, like, you know how pictures have that like little stand that props them up?
Yeah.
They would fall backwards. So that's the closest to home experience I've had. where my girlfriend's friend has had it.
I have a motion sensing cookie jar.
I haven't experienced ghosts yet.
Yeah, Stanley's.
I have a motion sensing cookie jar.
Really?
And sometimes it goes off when you open the lid. Sometimes it goes off when we're not nearby. But now the batteries are dead.
Yeah, I had a thing that was, it was like, it had a motion sensor in it, and it was Hopper from A Bug's Life. Do you remember? Did you ever see A Bug's Life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like Hopper, and it was like a foot tall, and it said different things, and then you could turn on like the security system, and he did like this crazy thing. And if you walked by, he would yell at you, and it would say quotes from the movie and stuff. So, although it was ridiculously, it was either like. It was hit and miss because you could like walk by it and do jumping jacks in front of it and stuff like that and it wouldn't go off. And then other times you could be like sneaking up and it would be like super sensitive and it'd be like if you thought about it, it would go off. And I don't mean that literally. I'm exaggerating, obviously,
yeah.
But I don't think
that's your ghost story that's currently happening to you.
Pardon me?
Don't you have a little ghost story happening to you currently?
Yeah, well, no, okay, so I'm moving into a house at the beginning of May, and I was the genius who said, yeah, I'll take the basement room, that's fine. That was right there, the first mistake.
That's going to be carved on your tomb.
Danny chose the basement room.
That's the reason why.
It's just in quotes, it's just like, yeah, I'll take the basement room.
But no, so what happens was one of my friends, the friend who I'm moving in with, her roommate, she actually never met this person because she moved out before she moved in. So the rumor, or what I was told by the landlord, was that this tenant moved out or got evicted because she couldn't pay the rent. However, she left all of her stuff there. She left her guitar. She left a whole bunch of clothes. She left textbooks, which I'm pretty sure the roommate sold. She left... Oh, this is where it gets even creepier. This is where it gets worse. She left a music box.
See, music boxes are on the list of things that are creepy but shouldn't be.
Yeah. When I was told that, I was like, if I could get out of this right now, I would. But no, then it gets worse. I go to actually see the room. At this point, I haven't signed anything yet, so I go down to actually see the room, and I look, and there's writing all over the wall, and it's stuff that I swear the Joker could have easily have written. And my friend found a letter in the basement titled "A Letter to the Broken," and it looked like the page has been burned in a fire, but you could easily just simulate that. Now, the rumor is she works at Eastside Mario's, but we haven't checked that out.
Which is, of course, the standard place for people who are haunted to work at.
Yeah. Yep. Now, see, what happened, though, is the thing that came into my mind that actually creeped me out is I'm sure some of our listeners have seen The Grudge, especially The Grudge 2. There's a scene where a woman gets locked in a closet, and there's like a little crawl space in the closet, or like a little tiny area where they hid like a dead body. My room's the only room with a closet. So I was like, the first thing I did when I went down there, opened up the closet door, looked up there, saw nothing. I was like, yes. But the landlord has not heard from her. She has not come to get the stuff. No one knows where she is. So my friend at school, just without any hesitation, she's dead.
Now, see, the first point on this story is that any normal human being would say, hey, I'm getting a place, and it's the only place in this building that has a closet. Cool. That's a bonus. No, you look at it as it's the only place that has a closet. It must be haunted. There's going to be a body in here.
No. That's not the first thing I thought. That was what I was told by the people who I was moving in with. They said that. I was just like, oh, let's just check it out just for fun. But when I checked the whole closet thing and the whole basement stuff, that was the whole, like, at this point I was like, now it's creepy funny. It's like stories you can tell people and creep them out but still get a good laugh. But then when we found that burnt letter and she has not answered any calls or been able to be contacted anywhere, that's when it just got to this. Things are a little bit off. But eventually I'm going to get hungry, so then I can go to East Side Mario's and, like, find her. See, like, what the hell's going on?
This can be easily explained by adolescent angst and...
Yeah, she didn't care.
Potential drug use.
Yeah, see, no, the thing is, like, if I was actually creeped out and didn't want to move in there, I would not be moving in. I really just don't care. Which is why it's so funny that my girlfriend's bringing a Ouija board.
I would legitimately, like, I would unmercifully make fun of you if you left because you thought the place was haunted.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I would make fun of myself.
Oh, I would...
Yeah.
And it would be malicious. Like, it wouldn't be good-natured, like, teasing. It would be straight-on bullying. Like...
Oh, no. I know.
But, you realize the position you're in, right?
What do you mean?
You're in the position to set up the ultimate troll ever.
Just disappear for like 3 days?
Because all of a sudden, you just gotta start drawing pentagrams and, like, speaking in Latin or tongues or something like that in front of your roommates, and they're just gonna say, oh my god, this room is haunted. And then, like, just
start talking randomly, just, like, talking in a normal conversation, and then suddenly just immediately slip into, like, some random language.
Yes. You have to learn some Latin phrases.
Do it.
Old. Can we please do this?
Or you could even, like, just drop, like, a subtle hint every, like, maybe month or two. Just a subtle hint to keep in the back of their mind that she left and it was creepy and it could potentially happen again. And then when you do plan to move out for whatever reason, you're moving to a new place or you don't want to be there or anything, blah, 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 just normal reasons, then you can just totally accelerate whatever it was you were doing. And then people will think, and then you just disappear. And people will think,
I can always be like, if we're ever sitting around, like eating dinner or something, we're like, hey, do you guys know where Sasha is? Who's Sasha? Oh, just the little friend I have in my room.
Oh, God.
There is so much we can do with this. It is hilarious.
Yes.
Record it for us.
I will admit, though, like, it has become a tad creepy.
Okay, but anyway, talking about ghosts, we got. I guess that's a good story, but to the legitimacy of ghosts, I can assume, or I think the audience can infer that we don't take it with much seriousness.
No.
Creepy things happen, but they can easily be, like, boiled down to just a freak coincidence.
Science.
Have you also heard the ghosts are pipes?
Yeah?
And infrasound? Did you hear about the infrasound theory?
Maybe.
Vaguely.
That it was basically like, there was somebody that did a study, what was his name? I have it written down somewhere. But, yeah, he basically did say, there was people that started saying that they were hallucinating in his office. And his name's Tandy. His last name's Tandy, but, I don't know his first name, but, because they call it the Tandy effect. And it was basically like he noticed that there was this, he couldn't figure out why it was happening, and it was only happening in a certain area of, like, the shop. And he was a scientist for, like, a totally unrelated field. But, and then he basically found out that this fan was, like, oscillating and emitting, like, a certain decibel level, which I think was, like, something in the area of, like, it was 16 to 18 decibels, or 16 to 18 hertz tone, right? And it was basically, like, matching up with the resonance frequency of the human eye. And so it was causing, like, blurs and headaches and things that people normally attribute to being in a haunted house, like. And so they basically, and then he started testing that theory that a certain hertz frequency would cause people to hallucinate and cause things like that. And I believe the Mythbusters did a test on that, but I don't know for sure.
I remember the Mythbusters tested the brown note.
Yes, they did. But
is it sad that the first thing I think about with that is South Park?
I think it was them that made that popular, but yeah, they basically, I don't know if it was the exact same test or if it was a test along the same lines. They did test something with like either creepy feelings and different, like, hertz levels. So, but yeah, the study that he had that this Tandy guy said was basically that it could be sound that, like, a fan or something, like a repetitive sound, then magnified through, like, heating ducts or other things like that through a house. and causing hallucinations.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's basically like totally disproves any ghost claims.
I like that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that before.
And I'm going to link a video, which is, it's not the most scientific thing ever because it's a cracked video. Is it what? No, it's a cracked video. And they basically, it's basically to understand the theory a bit better and kind of like a jumping point. So I'll put that in there because it's kind of funny too. But it's not, I don't claim that to be the authority on the infrasound. It's just for your entertainment. So, yeah.
I just find ghost sightings exciting.
I don't.
No.
I just find, like, because it's, like, the fact that they can make a whole documentary about it, and that gives me something to watch for an hour.
They also made a documentary about the 2012 apocalypse. We all know how that went.
Yes.
But it was still exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Because you could easily debunk all those claims.
Well, of course, you could probably make an hour-long documentary about Mark if you wanted to.
but shows like Ghost Hunters and stuff like that, where they don't like, they go into a supposedly haunted house. It's so easy to fake. It's not even funny. Like, I'm sure
we could do this if we wanted to. We could do a convincing ghost story.
I'm sure that some of the time, the things that they say happen to a degree, but not exactly the way they say it. Like, there could be a noise, but it could just be the house settling, right? Or wherever they are.
It could be like a furnace or
a completely natural tone, right? But then, of course, they're going to blow it out of proportion and say that it was a ghost. So I think that that's what 90% of the show is. They just hear something that can be completely explained, and they don't actually bother to explain it. They just assume it's a ghost, right? But
I think we should have a Nerdcast field trip to Rainham Hall in Norfolk. Have you ever heard of the Brown Lady?
No. I think so.
Well, there's the Blue Tunnel. That's right near us.
Oh, where's that?
The Blue Ghost Tunnel. Somewhere out, I think it's towards St. Catharines, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, and supposedly it's haunted, and it's like, there was this girl that was getting abused by her father, and she was trying to run away from him, and he got really mad because he killed her mother or something like that, and so he chased her to the tunnel, and, he told her not to scream, and he poured gas on her, and then as soon as he, like, lit the match, she screamed really loud, and he lit her on fire. And so then supposedly if you go into the middle of the tunnel at night and you light a match or a lighter or something like that, you can see the little girl and she'll scream, and then it's scary and you run away. But there's no evidence of this, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's the story.
That's funny shit.
But yeah, I don't think I would be good company on a ghost walk or ghost tour, because I would just be totally calling them on their bullshit the entire time.
God, I've actually only been on. Yeah, I think I've been on a ghost walk once.
Oh, really?
I don't think I ever have. I'm just trying to think.
It wasn't really a ghost walk. It was part of a tour. I went to some catacombs in London.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty cool. Kind of small though. I was too tall for it. Had to crouch.
But and then we could talk like, and then infrasound that could explain just the general ghost sighting. But then things like poltergeist and things where like things move, could just be, it's just exaggerated. Like anytime somebody, like you hear a story or you see a recreation of it, it's like, oh, this book flew across the room and like did something, right? And then like you have videos supposedly of poltergeists, and it's never anywhere near the claims that they say.
Yeah.
It's just like a thing falls off the shelf, which I get that's kind of freaky, but it could be like, I live like 30 feet away from a train track, and things fall off shelves all the time. Just because even if it doesn't happen right away, something vibrates and it kind of offsets, and then it could be like an hour later you go to walk across that, and then it nudges and something falls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just like something moves the wrong way and it knocks something over, right? Like it happens all the time. So I think that's it's
my
just
apartment buildings right beside some train tracks.
Yeah. So I think that poltergeists can be either explained just by exaggeration or lies. People lying either intentionally or like so they make up a hoax, or unintentionally because that they hear things about the story and it just what actually happened gets built up in their mind to a bigger event than it actually was. So. And that's also something that could be explained any conspiracy theory. It's just the fact that the human mind tends to embellish certain facts, right?
Isn't that our job, is to embellish everything?
Yeah.
Pretty much. But I think that's pretty much it for cryptids, right? Unless you have anything you want to add about anything?
No, well, I could probably go on for a couple hours about each cryptid we've talked about, but just try to save us some time.
Yes.
Join me as I move into my new house and we can all perform a seance.
Follow it on Twitter.
Live updates from Twitter.
But seances have been pretty thoroughly debunked as well.
I know, that's why it'll be funny.
And mostly by Harry Houdini. Did you ever hear about that?
No, I did not.
He was, because obviously he's a magician, so he's loosely related to, like, occult things and stuff like that. And so he went to, like, his mother was dying, and he went to, like, a bunch of psychics and seances and stuff like that to try to, like, communicate with her. And no, this was after she died. He wanted to communicate with his mom, so he went to a bunch of seances and talked to psychics and stuff like that. And they were using tricks that he used during his acts.
Huh.
And so he's like, I know exactly what you're doing, and this is totally fake, yet you're making money off of it. So he became one of, like, the biggest people that was going around saying, like, this is all fake, you shouldn't spend your money on it. And this was back when nobody was really saying that. So
yeah. And
he was, he pretty much did that up until the day he died, like, was trying to debunk.
I remember reading somewhere that some guy wanted to prove that there was an afterlife, so he hired a psychic to communicate with him after he died, so I think he, like, killed himself. And then next thing you know, she's trying to communicate with him and it doesn't work.
Oh,
I read that on What the F Facts.
And there's also the James Randi Foundation. Have you ever heard about that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, this
trying to refresh my
the
memory.
guy, he was also a magician. He was called the Amazing Randy, but he's James Randi, and he's a skeptic. And he basically put out on 1 million. If you go there and you can prove that you can do, like, your claim, your supernatural claim, he'll give you $1 million. And so far for the 40 years or so that he's been doing it, no one has ever come forth with a claim. And he's had, like, well-known people on there. He had Uri Geller on there for a while, and he couldn't do he couldn't do any psychic things once they were under the controlled environment.
I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, and can I just say, he was born in Toronto.
Yep.
It's Canadian.
Yep.
Canadian.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are against most of these claims. But anyway, we've kind of diverged from cryptids, so I guess we can move on to the next topic.
I am going to live tweet my first night in that house.
Excellent.